Of the 7 billion people in the world, less than 0.00001% will ever see and experience one of the world's most amazing frontiers, the geographic North Pole. In April 2010, I became one of those lucky few, and also the first Arab woman to ski the last degree to the North Pole. Today, I'd like to share with you just a little bit about what happened out there and how it changed the way I think about learning. Let me rewind back to why I decided to do this expedition. I was 27 years old, and I was one of those people that's all about the toolbox, devoting all my energy to gathering the skills that I thought I needed to succeed in life, be it from education or from work experience. But 6 years in, I started to get bored. I started to wonder what the point was of gathering all these skills. Would they serve me any purpose outside of the workplace? And at the same time, the cost on my personal and family life of chasing these skills was getting bigger and bigger, to the point where I was living a completely unsustainable lifestyle, full of bad habits and shortcuts. So I knew I was in need of some personal development, and I wasn't going to get it from work or from further education. So I started looking for a challenge outside of my comfort zone, something isolated from everything that I relied on, where instead I'd have to rely entirely on myself for my survival. At the same time, I had been so disconnected from my natural environment for so long that I really wanted to experience the extremes of nature as part of this experience. I did the expedition because I thought the journey and preparing for it would mean I'd spend more time with myself. And that's what I thought I needed in order to be a better person and to live a healthier, more sustainable lifestyle. It was a good reason to go. But what I expected to get and what I actually got were two different things. But before I get into that, let me tell you a little bit more about the North Pole. The expedition we did involved skiing from 89 to 90 degrees north latitude. The distance we'd cover was around 170 kilometers over 9 days. The temperatures at the North Pole during April are around minus 30 degrees Celsius. And to cross the ice caps that cover the Arctic Ocean, we would be skiing cross-country, single file, for 8 to 12 hours a day. There's absolutely no life at the North Pole. There's no access to supplies, and so you have to carry everything that you need to survive in a sled behind you and pull that along as you go. And at the end of a long day, you have to set up camp, gather clean ice to melt for drinking water and for cooking, tend to your blisters, and then go to sleep only to start it all over again the next day. One of the things that appealed to me most about the idea of the North Pole was how unpredictable it was. What you're headed into and how long it would take were both unknown. You see, there is no land at the North Pole, which means you're skiing over floating ice caps that tend to drift south as you're skiing north, creating this treadmill effect. And at the same time, those ice caps melt and then they reform each year, meaning there is no path to the North Pole. You have to create your own as you go. And along the way, you have to face many obstacles, like where two ice caps separate and expose the black Arctic Ocean. It also appealed to me because the North Pole is the most remote place in the world. Almost nothing works there. There's no network coverage. Most batteries freeze. And as a result, when you're out there, you're relying entirely on your mental resilience for your survival. This is where I learned the most about myself and my abilities. I never knew so much about my body and how it works until I was forced to under those circumstances. On just the second day, I had my first big reality check. Just 6 hours into skiing, I started to feel lethargic, sluggish and shaky, really low on energy. With the help of my team, I quickly realized that until then, I had totally failed to comprehend the extremity of my new environment and how much active management, minute by minute, it took to keep my body warm and functioning. I had been operating in survival mode rather than learning the new skills that I needed out there, like planning how much and how often I ate, at what pace I skied, how often I went to the bathroom, or how well hydrated I kept myself. And because I was so focused on surviving in those early hours, the only image I had registered was of barren, flat white ice and snow, coupled with this misty horizon as fresh snow fell and made the destination in the distance indistinguishable from the ice that we were crossing. However, with time, I quickly learned to focus and put my new skills to use. And as I got more comfortable with these skills and gained confidence, I struggled less. And as I struggled less, I started lifting my head up and looking around, rather than looking down at my boots, hunched over from the cold wind. And this inquisitiveness started to take over because I was seeing something I totally did not expect. All along the horizon, ice sculptures were taking unique shapes. Shades of blue, turquoise, and green were all exploding, making the most beautiful masterpiece. Except it wasn't painted by man, it was created by Mother Nature. Every time I blinked, I grew more conscious of the fact that this view that was blowing me away, it was only available here and now. It was never there before, and it never will be there again in exactly the same shape or form. Unveiling that unexpected beauty would not have been possible without getting rid of the clutter and the distractions of everyday life. The sounds of my daily routine had started to fade. A BlackBerry message alert, a phone ringing, car engines, traffic, horns, airplanes, high heels, they were all gone. And instead, they were replaced with just two things: the sound of my skis crunching over the ice underneath, and the voice inside. The voice that knows exactly what's holding you back, but also your full potential and your ability to overcome your weaknesses. Absent an opportunity free of distractions, I would have continued to rely solely on education and work experience to learn, never realizing that we could learn so much more, so much faster, from nature, from within. One of the biggest surprises of the North Pole was meeting Taylor on the expedition. Taylor was our expedition guide's son, and he had decided to join the expedition just 1 week prior to our departure. He was 15 years old. Now, just thinking back to the sort of teenager that I was thinking, oh great, an underprepared, impulsive teenager with absolutely no mental or physical training, no maturity to compensate for that. He's probably going to slow us all down, he's going to complain the whole way, or worse. But Taylor was nothing like what I expected. At different times of the expedition, we all complained, be it of a cracked rib, or of frostbite on our fingertips, or of the pain in our joints from the repetitive motion of skiing for 10 hours a day. I never heard Taylor complain once. We all sought help in adjusting our systems, be it our sleep system, our food, or our equipment. Taylor was the one sharing the knowledge rather than seeking it. I had expected him to be overwhelmed and out of his comfort zone, but in fact, he was calm, at ease, and at home. The North Pole had taught me many things. It had shown me many things. And as a result, going back to my daily life, in some ways, became a bit of a shock. Yes, it's true, I had craved many of my normal routine habits while I was out there. The first thing I did when I got back was have 4 showers in a row with my favorite shampoo. I ate a lot of macaroons, and it took a long time to detach me from my duvet and a mug of hot chocolate. But at the same time, as I reintegrated into nature, I started to realize that some of those habits that we live by, the way we spend our energy and our efforts, are so misdirected. For example, with learning. We go to work every day, devoting all our energy and expecting it to be the main source of our learning. We live in an environment, in a city, and we constantly forget the many opportunities that we have closer to home to have an experience like I did at the North Pole. Even just a fraction of that experience is enough for us to be more in tune with our true nature, better equipped to be a leader, more like Taylor. You see, I had spent my summers doing internships. Taylor had spent his summers climbing mountains and hiking through forests. I had entered the career world thirsty for critical new skills. Taylor will enter the career world in just a few years, already having mastered many of these skills. I would hire a guy like Taylor in my team any day. There may be better qualified people out there for me to choose from. But it feels like the more educated the world is becoming, the harder it actually is to find truly high potential individuals, future leaders. If only these formative experiences weren't left to chance. If only we could find a way maybe to complement our formal education with experience-based learning. Maybe then we might remember from time to time to give ourselves the room to lift our heads up and see our potential and the potential of the world around us. Thank you.